When you look at crossovers in this segment, you don't really hear much about the Ford Escape, but it's definitely worth a look, especially as this plug-in hybrid model. The RAV4 Prime kind of steals everybody's thunder because it's quite impressive, but it's also quite a bit more expensive than this Escape too. So today we're going to figure out, is this Ford Escape plug-in hybrid a better value than that RAV4 Prime? I'll give you a full detailed look at the outside, the inside, talk about how it drives in charging, and go for a test drive. Now a quick look at the exterior of this base SE model for the plug-in hybrid. You're going to get these really large headlights, LED daytime running lights, but this actually gets halogen headlights instead of LED and LED fog lights like the titanium. Compared to the previous Escape models, this is a much different design, but they've had this for a couple of years, and the plug-in hybrid models will all get 18-inch wheels regardless. There's no turn signal in the mirror, which is a little bit surprising, but the door handles are still body color, and dimensionally this is 180.5 inches long, so very similar to the RAV4. Just about a ½ inch shorter, but it's 1 inch wider than that RAV4 Prime. And coming to the back, you'll get LED taillights, a unique taillight design. It does look pretty good at night, and still dual chrome exhaust tips. Now coming to the cargo area, so you don't really sacrifice much even with the plug-in hybrid because you still have good space back here. And we're going on a road trip. I didn't tell you that. I'll talk about that a little bit more later. So I mean, you can see the amount of stuff we have back here. There's about 33 cubic feet behind the second row. Not great, but not bad either. It's gonna swallow up quite a bit of stuff, no problems. We've got a couple suitcases going right there that fit, and it works just fine. The RAV4's got a little more here and a decent amount more when we fold the seats down. Underneath of that floor, there's no spare tire, but there's an inflator kit and a battery. For convenience features, you have a 12-volt power outlet and one little hook for grocery bags or a cargo net. But then like this, the seat does fold down to where the back of it is kind of flat. It's a little bit raised overall, but if you fold everything down, you'll get about 60 cubic feet, where the RAV4 is about 69. So if legroom's important, go for the Escape. If cargo room's important, go for the RAV4. All right, so let's take a look at this key fob. This is a typical Ford key fob. Open up the lift back. There's no remote start on this one. You can get it optional or on upper trims, but not on this model. So the way the smart key system works is you push these lines to lock it. Otherwise, it's a sensor in the back. It works pretty seamlessly. And you've got the keyless keypad right here to be able to get in with the special code. The RAV4 does not have that. And one other thing is when you actually do remote start this, with a Ford, it will keep running when you open the door. With Toyota, as soon as you open the door, everything shuts off. And you have to just restart it and kind of lose traction on your heat or cool. Now let's take a dive inside. So in terms of total volume, the Ford Escape is going to have about 3.5 cubic feet of more total passenger space, which I'll talk more about that in the back seat. But here with Ford, on this trim, we've got these cloth seats. They kind of have a unique pattern to them. I like this little almost like diamond shape pattern in there. They're pretty soft. They look nice. The overall cushion is a little bit firm. You know, it's not as plush. You can get Active X synthetic seats in here if you want to, and our model still gives us power seats with height and tilt and lumbar support. Pretty similar to the RAV4. I'll talk about comfort in a bit. Heated seats are optional. They're not standard on this model because we're in the base model. Same thing with memory settings. You can get those, and even the top trim you can get cooled seats or ventilated seats just like the RAV4. Overall comfort, I've been pretty comfortable in here. I don't love the seat bottom. I feel like it's just a little bit different. But overall, I don't have too much to complain about. The steering wheel is manual tilt and telescoping, and you can get it through a pretty decent range of motion. No complaints there. Now as we come into the back seat, this is where we start to separate. So this has really good space, a couple more inches than the RAV4 Prime in terms of legroom. So this is where a lot of that space really comes into effect. With my car seat, I can't have it with an extension piece behind my seat comfortably. I'd have to scoot in a little bit. But my wife can sit in the front seat and that can still fit okay and be all right. Over on the door, you get just cheap materials all around, which is a little bit surprising, but it is a base model. And then you've got just a soft armrest, little storage, and little bottle holder. Now sitting behind myself, I'm 5'9". I've got good foot space. I've got really good knee space. There's even extra indent cutouts right there. There's a little hump in the middle. It's not too bad though. Then you get your own air conditioning vents, plus you've got a couple USB charging ports down there. The middle gives us this center folding armrest with a couple of larger than average cup holders for a backseat armrest. So I like that. Headroom is great in here too. I mean, 6-footers hopefully can probably sit back here as well. You can recline these seats forward and backwards a decent ways, and they can scoot forward too to give your cargo some more space. Compared to the RAV4, definitely more legroom, more spacious overall. Now climbing inside of the Escape, so unlike the back door, the front door does give you soft materials right here, a padded armrest, and then you've got some decent bottle holders in storage. So for example, my fairly large bottle fits right there well, doesn't fit right here too great. It is snug, but you can make it work. Push button start is right back here. It's a little bit of an awkward reach, and it is so quiet. That is one thing, it's just super quiet. You'll know that it's ready because it will have a ready icon over there, even though the engine doesn't have to run. And you can see I've got 30 miles of range right here. We're gonna do some EV driving, some hybrid driving, a combination of both. Now, the Escape buttons right here, this is kind of new, Ford's new-ish design of the steering wheel buttons. I'm not a huge fan. They just don't feel all that natural and comfortable to me, but that's just me. Just a quick overview of the interior. It just doesn't feel or seem as nice as some competitors. Granted, this is the base model, so things are a little bit different. But compared to the RAV4 just felt a little bit nicer and a little bit more functional and practical, but they're very similar nonetheless. Now up front, this is a digital display right in the middle with a couple of analog gauges. That one will tell you and help you with your charging and your power output. So if it's in the green when you're braking, that means you're recapturing energy. You can use that to kind of learn how efficient you're being. Now, for example, in my time so far without any road trip, I've averaged 51 miles per gallon because some of it has been electric, some of it has been hybrid, some's been interstate, all of that. There's a lot of stuff on here that you can see. One thing that I really appreciate is that Ford gives you a good amount of electric driving information. So it'll kind of help you when you're driving to know whether or not you're in electric mode, hybrid mode, how much threshold you have of each one. So it's easy to get better and more efficient as a driver. This is the screen here, but the upper trim level will give you a larger full 12-inch display. The titanium trim will also give you a head-up display on the windshield, but this one doesn't have that. Then coming over here, we've got a tablet-style screen right here, which seems to be the theme. The RAV4 is pretty similar. It has some controls down there, whereas the RAV4 has controls built into the screen. You have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, just like the RAV4. It works fine. It does have to be wired in, at least as of right now. You've got a decent amount of things you can adjust on here. It comes with Wi-Fi available if you want to pay to have that as well. So it works fine. I've got no complaints with the Ford Sync system for the most part. And then I do still really appreciate having physical controls down there. Then coming down, we've got dual zone climate control. Let me turn that on. So you got your side, you've got the passenger side. I love Ford's 3-tiered threshold for the automatic climate. RAV4 does not do that. So if you want your automatic climate control on, but you don't want it to blast you in the face, the maximum speed will be 1 out of 3. Or you can do 3 out of 3 where it can blast you in the face with air. Otherwise, you can control it normally too. You've got 2 USB charging ports down there, a 12-volt power outlet, and a rubber-lined storage bin. There will be a wireless charger in here, but not on our particular model. Coming back, cup holders work well. They have a taller, like deeper one right there, or a shorter one right there, and there's space for a handle for a coffee mug. You've got this shift dial, so let's go into reverse. It's a little bit weird having a rotating dial, but it works fine. Then you've got a dynamic line and even a hitch towing line for your backup camera. Ford gives us an electronic parking brake, a brake hold button as well, and then you got a few different EV modes and drive modes. I'll show you. So if you press the EV button, you've got normal operation. Well, it will go between whatever the vehicle best suits, between EV or gas. And then you can do all electric driving if you have enough range. And then you can do to where you save, let's say I got 30 miles right now of electric range. You can save that and go on just hybrid mode. So if you want to use your EV for later, you can do that. Or you have EV charge, where it runs the gas engine pretty much all the time and uses very little, if any, electric power to help charge your battery. So if you have 0 EV miles, you can use that, and after a while you can get a few miles of EV range. Be alert though, it's not very economical because you're using the gas engine more than you normally would and extra to charge the battery, so your efficiency is going to be pretty poor if you keep it in that mode for very long. Coming back to the armrest, I wish that this could move forward or be a little bit more elevated. It's kind of low and it slants down, but it is padded up to a certain point, and then there's a hard lip right there. But we lift this up, you've got a good sized storage bin inside of here. Overhead, we get LED interior lighting in here, and then we've got sunglass holders overhead. One thing I also appreciate is these visors are quite large and they slide, which is great. No automatic dimming mirror on our model, but you can of course get one if you move up in trim. The glove box is right here. It does not lock, but it is decent size and it doesn't just let everything fall out. Now overhead, our model does not have a sunroof, but you can get a panoramic roof on upper trims optional. So quick recap compared to the RAV4, feature-wise, pretty much the same. Otherwise, the style is similar too, with the tablet style screen, dual zone climate control. The RAV4 seems to feel a little bit nicer. Granted, this is the base model and, you know, things are just a little bit lower grade in here, but the RAV4 has an extra little storage cubby next to the dash, which is pretty nice. Under the hood, let me make this quick. The plug-in hybrid is a combination of a regular gas engine, a battery pack, and electric motor, or motors, depending, and it gives you the best of both worlds. So you have the ability to run on just electric range or a combination of gas and electric like a regular hybrid. This one under the hood is a 2.5 liter 4-cylinder engine paired with the electric components for 221 horsepower, front wheel drive only, and 37 miles of pure electric range. After the range runs out, you'll get about 40 miles per gallon combined, up to 43 in the city, so it'll operate like a hybrid when you don't have the electric range. Now comparing this to the RAV4 Prime, the Prime's got quite a bit more horsepower, so it's faster. It can do over 40 miles of electric range, but its hybrid efficiency is a little bit less by 2 miles per gallon. The other thing is the RAV4 Prime comes in all-wheel drive, where this does not come in all-wheel drive at all. It's only front-wheel drive. One big pro to the RAV4 Prime, even though it's less efficient overall, is that it has a bigger tank, so effectively you have more range when you kick in the gas engine. Charging is really easy. You don't ever really have to go to a DC fast charger or pay to go charge somewhere because you can just charge at home. They both come with this simple plug. There's a little door right over here, and it even lets you know the charging status with lights, and it has a glow up light at night, so that's really nice too. If you use the available cord, just a regular 110 volt plug in your garage, let's say, you can charge it to full capacity overnight in about 10 to 11 hours. Otherwise, you can fast charge it with a 220 volt plug if you want to. All right, we are now behind the wheel, and I'm going to give you some of my impressions, go through different drive modes, the different EV modes, and first thing, we've got the automatic emergency braking, things like that, blind spot indicators in here. We've got regular cruise control, but no adaptive cruise control. You can get adaptive cruise control where it's stop and go and lane centering optional, but it's not standard on here. It's actually standard on the RAV4 though. Now, my first impression driving this, I have it in the auto mode. So it'll kind of go between gas and electric depending on what you're doing. If you have enough electric, it'll stay in electric for the most part. But if you hammer on it, then it's going to get you up and go with the gas engine plus electric. And you can tell the difference. You can watch on the screen. There's a threshold. So if you can see that, it goes between charge, electric, and hybrid. And you know, if you keep it in the electrical box, then you're going to stay in electric. Otherwise, if you push past that with your accelerator, it's going to go right into hybrid. But my first impression with this is that it just kind of feels and drives like a car. I mean, it feels a little smaller, it feels a little lower than what I had originally anticipated with the Escape back when they redesigned it for, what, 2020. Now, let me go ahead and just kind of romp on it for a second. So we're just in auto mode. Pedal down, and you could hear that gas engine kick on pretty much right after I put the pedal down because it required it. That's in auto mode. The gas engine, when it does turn on and off, it's actually pretty smooth. When it's going from EV to electric, or when it's in like hybrid mode, kind of toggling between the two, it's pretty smooth. You notice it, but it's not bad. It's not like a jolt or anything obnoxious. Now we're just in auto mode still. If I let off the gas, then it's essentially charging a little bit, and you'll see that down there. Now let me change my mode. I'm gonna go to, let's see, I'm gonna go to all electric, just full on electric driving. So in electric mode, you can get around with just electric, no problem for the most part. If I do pedal down, it's not as fast, but it's still pretty quick. I mean, it gets us up to speed, and it gives you an option, press OK to enable the engine, which allows you, if you really need to get going and you're not going fast enough in electric mode, then it'll turn the engine on for you. So something to keep in mind. This does handle well. I'm happy with how it handles. I mean, it feels low, it feels fairly well planted, and I don't really have any complaints with the way it drives, because it's definitely comfort oriented, and I think that's what a lot of people are going to go for. The comfort is good, the ride comfort is great. The RAV4 Prime ride comfort is good too, but I think it feels a little more on the sporty side, I guess you could say, because it is also significantly quicker than this. For example, the RAV4's got 300 plus horsepower, and you feel it. I mean, you stomp on it, that thing's just as fast as a V6 Camry, or maybe in a tad faster. Now I'm slowing down, and I am braking, so it's using regeneration to help charge the battery. And it'll tell you, you can have it set to have a little coach on here, so it'll tell you, hey, you returned such and such percentage of potential energy, and it says 100% energy returned. So slow braking is the way to go. Hard braking, you really lose some potential energy. Now we're in normal operation. Let me get pedal down. Alright, I didn't really touch on it. These don't have traditional transmissions. They have like an electronic controlled planetary gear set, so it's not going to shift like a transmission. It's kind of like a CVT in terms of the way it sounds and operates. And let me go into save for later mode, to where it's going to save your energy, your EV range, for later. So it's going to operate in hybrid mode. Still go in and out of hybrid and electric, just like regular hybrid mode. But as soon as you really get on it, the threshold is a lot less, to where it's going to kick in the gas engine. That way you don't eat away at your EV range. And this does handle okay. I mean, there's a little bit of body lean, but it's still fairly flat, and it's just a comfortable ride. I'm really happy with the ride quality in here. That's something, if that's something that's important to you, you're gonna really like this. Now, I'm gonna go to battery charged by engine mode, EV charge mode. So it's gonna almost always use the engine to, like, I'm coasting and we're still in electric mode, but as soon as I get on it even a little bit, the gas engine turns on. Even sometimes when you're coasting or when you're idling, it's still going to have that gas engine on to help charge the battery and give you a couple extra miles of EV range if you wanted to use that later. Most of the time, I just put it in normal operation mode, and it'll just do its own thing. You don't have to think about it, you don't have to worry about it, but you can go pure EV mode all the time or whatever if you have enough EV range. Now, coming to a long slowdown like this, just slightly hold the brake. Try not to mash on it too much, because you're using regenerative braking instead of regular friction brakes. And it's going to say 97% energy returned. Now, as I get going on a rough textured road, this does have some road noise that gets in. It's not very quiet. It's not, neither this nor the RAV4 are necessarily quiet. I think, I can't remember the Prime's numbers, but neither of them are quiet. So don't even expect quietness out of either of them. But I haven't had any rattles in here, and it's not terrible. There's no laminated glass, but the wind noise hasn't really been that bad. It's mostly road noise like this. But I hope you liked this test drive and learned something about how the plug-in hybrid operates. Let me know what you think down below, but let's go ahead and wrap things up. So to wrap things up, I talked about, is it a better value than the RAV4 Prime? And I didn't want to make it a full-on comparison, but just give you some facts and let you make a decision. Well, it's more efficient when it's in its hybrid state. It's still pretty close as far as how much EV range it has, and it still drives nice. It doesn't have as much power, it's not as fun, it doesn't have as big of a gas tank either. But it's still quite a bit less expensive. It offers a decent amount of features and even some more space in some areas than that RAV4 Prime. So what do you think? As a plug-in hybrid for somebody who doesn't want to go full electric, but somebody that wants more than just a regular hybrid or gas model, this plug-in hybrid is a really good option where you can stay in your EV range a lot of the time, but still have that gas and good efficiency if you need it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. A thumbs up below would be super helpful, and subscribe for more reviews like this. Have a great day.